Get ready, racing fans! The most electrifying week in motorsports is back! October 6th to 11th, Oswego Speedway transforms into the Clay Palace, the ultimate battleground for Super Dirt Week. From the thrilling races to the electrifying atmosphere, it's more than a race. It's racing's biggest party. Don't miss out. Super Dirt Week 2025, October 6th through the 11th.
This is entertainment. People pay to watch this.
Pass to a cutting hill. He darts in.
Oh! People actually subscribe.
All across central New York.
Time expired! Syracuse has done it!
It's drive time with your host, Tim Leonard.
Hey, guess what? I'm getting one. Hey!
We welcome you into Drive Time. Here with you for the next hour, talking Orange football. Talking whatever is on your mind in the sports world. Local Syracuse sports talk for the next hour, 5 to 6 p.m. every weeknight. Drive time with Tim Leonard. Phone lines open throughout much of the show today. We want to hear from you. We'll catch up with Adam Terry, who will be on the call of the Syracuse broadcast for Learfields, and on the radio call with myself, Matt Park, on Saturday. Weekly visit with Adam Terry today. Get his thoughts on what he made of the Orange's big upset victory down in Clemson and just how good they looked in that game. Turn our attention to Duke a little bit today. Start to preview that matchup. What we might expect from the Cuse in this game against the Blue Devils. They are now 6-point underdogs to Duke. I know they don't have their starting quarterback, but 6-point underdogs. I don't think I saw that coming. The spread opened around 5.5, and it is gravitating towards Duke, the road team. It'll be going into a hostile environment, a packed dome, a sold-out dome for Family Weekend on Saturday. So we welcome your thoughts throughout. We'll catch up with Adam. The big question really on my mind today that I want to discuss throughout the show today is what should we expect from new starting quarterback Rickie Collins? What would be a good game for Rickie Collins here in his first start in an orange uniform against Duke? What are our expectations? What are reasonable expectations? What is the offense going to look like under Rickie Collins? I think we're going to try and flesh out some of that today, make our predictions on what to expect from Rickie Collins and this new look offense with him as the starting quarterback. Or maybe it's not a new look offense. Maybe things will stay the same. 315-437-7644 if you have thoughts on any of that. And I did get a chance to speak with Rickie Collins last night for an interview that we are going to run on our Learfield pregame show on Saturday. Ran the 2-minute drill, which we always do with the Orange starting quarterback as part of our pregame coverage. And interesting to get a chance to speak with him for the first time. Really does seem like a smart guy that is very excited for this opportunity, of course. Also very bummed for Steve Angeli. He's spoken a lot about how there is a real friendship there, and that's not fake. They are very good friends. They watch film a ton. He told me last night that about 2 to 3 times a week they are watching film at night together and trying to get better. And he's still going to lean on Steve quite a bit. He kind of joked that he's going to try and use Steve's knowledge because he is a really smart quarterback at identifying blitzes and just things at the line of scrimmage and checkdowns and reads and stuff like that. So, as Fran Brown said, I would expect Steve Angeli to be very involved here and be like a extra coach for the Orange. But maybe the most noteworthy thing that Rickie told me last night is kind of unprompted. He brought up that Fran told him, we're not going to change anything here with the playbook. We're not going to change our offense. The offense is working for Syracuse. Kyle McCord led the nation in passing yards last year. Steve Angeli leading the nation this year in passing yards. Why would you change it? And Rickie said to me last night, we're going to be Syracuse. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to throw the ball. So he has said it now. And he did mention last night during the media session when he got a chance to speak to some of the local media that Kyle McCord has reached out to him, given him a message that now it's his time. He shared that Steve Angeli has also kind of given him a message like, we all believe in you. And Rickie has now said, I'm going to throw the ball. I'm a pass-first quarterback. I'm going to get the ball in my playmakers' hands. And you'll hear that full interview once it comes out on our Learfield pregame show on Saturday. But that was the big takeaway for me, that he is not going to be that much different from Steve Angeli, is my interpretation of everything that has come out this week. Nunzio Campanelli, the quarterback coach, last night, saw the quotes going around. I believe it was Ashley Winskowski who tweeted it. And shout out to her for putting it on my Twitter feed, so give some proper credit there. But she was the one who tweeted it and said in the quote that Nunzio Campanelli believes Rickie Collins has the best arm, or one of the best arms he's seen, and he's been around some NFL quarterbacks. So that's your quarterback's coach saying it. Then we've heard Fran Brown make comments as well. And Fran Brown was actually on with Rich Eisen. Rich Eisen always on in between our two shows now. We've got Orange Nation 12 to 2. We've got Rich Eisen, the new show that is on ESPN. He's made his return to ESPN Radio. That's always in its entirety run back in between our shows. And then you get me from 5 to 6. That's our lineup for anyone that didn't know. And Rich Eisen was on, or Fran Brown was on with Rich Eisen earlier today. And a couple things stood out from that. Here's what Fran had to say when Rich Eisen asked the obvious question about the quarterback position, and you've lost your starter, and now you got to go to quarterback number 2. He said, okay, what does that mean, and what are your expectations of the quarterback position?
That's why we paid for 2. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Steve went down, decided for it, was a really good player, was leading the country and passing and everything at the time, but Rickie would be ready to step in.
Rickie Collins.
We had a heated battle.
Yeah.
Rickie will be ready to go. Next man up mentality. I believe in Rickie. I think he's a great kid. And you know the best thing about this kid, though, Rich, regardless of what he does when he gets to the field, I think he'll do well. But he stayed ready. He worked. There's so many kids that when they don't win that spot, they quit, they mope, they sit back, and they complain. And we got some on our team that was doing that, but he wasn't one of those guys. He was in there every night watching tape with Steve and pushing Steve, and those guys got so close. Like they became real good friends.
So that was Fran Brown on the Rich Eisen Show earlier today. Rich Eisen Show on ESPN Radio. And the quote there that made all the producers and Rich Eisen laugh off the top, that was very Fran Brown. That's why we pay for 2. That's why we have 2 quarterbacks. One goes down, we've still got a really talented guy. And Fran has gone out of his way to express his confidence in Rickie Collins this week. He also had this to say from earlier today on the Rich Eisen Show about Rickie Collins.
I'm excited to see him get this opportunity. I got a feeling that he's going to do really well. He has a big boy arm, right? And him having Steve there with him, these guys going to be well, man. So we're excited about Rickie, man. They call him Slick Rick, so we happy about Slick Rick.
There we go. Now we got Rickie Collins' nickname as well. Slick Rick apparently is one of his nicknames, at least, that we know of. So that was Fran Brown on Rich Eisen's show earlier today. And again, it's more proof, and it's not shocking, right? Fran Brown is a confident dude. He's going to have confidence in whoever is his quarterback, and he's always going to have confidence in whoever is playing for Syracuse football, and he's going to hype them up, and he's going to say nice things about them. But he is kind of going out of his way to make it clear this guy's got all the throws in him. This guy's got an arm. We have a lot of confidence in him running our offense the same way. And it gets into the conversation and the big question of the day here on the show, and we welcome your thoughts on this topic. But what would be a good game for Rickie Collins against Duke is the thing that I think is on everyone's mind right now. And my feel of it is not knowing a ton about just how good Rickie Collins is and not having seen him play football a ton, but I do feel like he has all the throws, and he's going to wow us with a couple throws over the course of the next couple weeks. And when he is in this starting role going forward, there's going to be a high ceiling to Rickie Collins, and we're going to see some really impressive plays. We're going to see some nice throws on the run, maybe, and we're going to see an athletic quarterback that has all the tools. I think we're also going to see more mistakes from the quarterback position, and that's natural. And the big key for this game against Duke is, can he limit mistakes? Duke just turned NC State over 4 times last week. That was a big reason why they won that game. Duke has a very prolific offense. And Darian Mensah, it's kind of the same conversation for him, the hotshot Tulane transfer quarterback. Duke wants him to limit mistakes because he's got all the throws as well, and he can roll out, and he's an athletic dude that can throw on the run. So the question is, will Rickie be able to limit the turnovers this week? That's what's on my mind. You look at Duke's defense, they're pretty good at getting after the quarterback. They're 41st in the nation right now in sacks per game. You go through their games to this point, they had 3 sacks defensively against Elon, which that's Elon. You can't take too much from that. They actually sacked Illinois 4 times, but they got blown out in the second half by the Illini. They had 1 sack against Tulane on the road and 2 sacks last week against NC State and their dual threat quarterback, CJ Bailey. So they're 41st in the country in sacks per game. Duke is also not a good passing defense at this point in the season. They're 125th in the nation, according to Pro Football Focus, in coverage grade. They're 119th in the country in tackling grade on PFF. Those are 2 of their worst stats right now. They're giving up a lot of passing yards. Knowing what Fran Brown has been saying, that they're still going to throw the football, that they have faith in Rickie Collins. He's gone out of his way to say, I think Rickie's going to do well. He has also said, I think Rickie's going to take some shots and he's going to have to learn. He said that in his press conference on Monday. Fran did. Knowing that, I expect Rickie to have multiple touchdowns. I expect the Orange to move the ball pretty well in this game. The over-under is like 60.5. This is expected to be a shootout here. And I think Syracuse will do its part in terms of how effectively they move the ball, even with their backup quarterback. I also feel like Rickie's probably going to make a couple turnovers or make some mistakes in this game. And overall, my general feel is he's going to exceed expectations here as the Syracuse starting quarterback going forward. I think this might be the game where he makes a couple too many mistakes. We'll see. I feel like Syracuse will get this win in the end, and that's kind of where I'm leaning right now. But that is my feel of the quarterback position going forward. We're going to see some great plays from Rickie Collins. We're going to see some mistakes. Overall, I think he's going to exceed expectations, and I bet he will exceed expectations this week. I think it's crazy that Syracuse is 6-point underdogs right now to Duke. So we can talk about all this as we progress throughout the show today. 315-437-7644 is the phone number to call. That's for ESPN 44. We're off and running on Drive Time. We'll chat with Adam Terry on the other side, get his thoughts on Rickie Collins, expectations for the Orange offense going forward. Will it look the same? Will they change things up? And we'll just preview that Duke matchup a little bit more with Adam Terry, former Orange offensive lineman, former NFL offensive lineman, will join us on the other side here on Drive Time on ESPN Radio.
John Frost and Sons.
Boom Boom Mex Mex, shout out. New rapper. Let's see, let me catch up on the chat. Yeah, we'll see how much they change the playbook, Sport Boy, but you got to have faith in Jeff Nixon. I mean, you got to have faith, period. Phone's ringing out there, Gio. They've done a good job to this point, obviously. So between Jeff Nixon, between the wide receivers, between the offensive line getting better, Yasin Willis at running back, Rickie's in a pretty good position here to succeed. Duke as your first start is a pretty good defense to go up against as well. Only 173 passing yards, Alex. I'm expecting a little more than that, I'd say. That would be the fewest Duke has given up all year, I'm sure. Maybe Elon. I think you got to believe bowling ball on the note of all the hype, awards, and praise. Hope they don't lay an egg. You got to believe in Fran in that regard. They've been pretty good at getting jacked up for each game and not looking past anyone. And he's building a culture that you should have some faith in, I think, in terms of just moving on to the next game. Yeah, bowling ball, it's a good point. Maybe we see less balls batted down, right? There's been a lot of those. That's the only flaw with Steve Angeli. I mean, I guess he didn't play great in the first couple games, but even in the Clemson game, a lot of passes were getting batted down. Yeah, Lukey, I think that's the takeaway. Got to make sure you limit mistakes, like I said. And honestly, Darian Mintz is kind of the same way. He's looked really good overall, but he'll throw you a pick here or there, and whoever gets the most turnovers is probably going to have a say in who wins this game, like it always does. That's a good point, bowling ball. Stanford wasn't good, but they also bounced back in, some of the bigger games. I guess your point is, I see what you're saying. Your point is when they came off a big win. I mean, we don't really have a ton of evidence of that, but I think they'll be fine. I wouldn't think there's any sort of hangover knowing that Duke is a good team and it's sold out and there's a good amount of hype to it. I agree about the Rickie fans. It shouldn't be surprising, but I love how the fan base went from never seeing Rickie play to, and even they hadn't seen him play, but they were so convinced he was really good and going to be better than Angeli. Then we saw a couple drives, and because we saw the first drive and it was bad and he threw a bad pick, it's he's terrible. Let's move on now. The guy had to be pretty nervous for his first drive, just as Steve was probably really nervous against Tennessee, and he got better and better. I don't think they don't get many good crowds, Zach, at their place. I think it was $15K for Illinois for them. Maybe Tulane was a big crowd, though. Welcome back into Drive Time. Inching closer to that sold-out game inside the Dome Saturday. Noon kick against Duke. Big question on my mind today, and what we'll be discussing throughout our hour on the show today is Rickie Collins. What to expect from the new starting quarterback? How much will the Orange change the offense this year or this game with Rickie Collins now as their starter? We know he's a little bit more athletic. We know he's got a slightly different skill set, but Fran has also gone out of his way this week, and Rickie went out of his way last night when I spoke with him to say that we're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to keep throwing the ball, and the game plan won't change too much going forward. So if you have thoughts on what to expect from the new QB1 for the Orange with Steve Angeli out for the season, call in right now at 315-437-7644. That's always the phone number to call. And we go to the phone lines. We've got Tim, who is in Eastwood. Tim, what are your thoughts on Rickie Collins?
Hey, I'm confident in him. The only thing that worries me, I think, like you said before, is just mistakes. Try to stay away from mistakes. Just make the simple play. Get the ball, and they got to have still the game plan. I think the game plan for last game was perfect in that they ran the ball first to set up the pass, rather than, I think before it was the other way around. So they got to keep giving the ball to 6 and to 24. But one concern I have is he seems to, I saw it in the Clemson game a couple times, is he sees the first couple reads and nothing's there, and when the pressure starts to get to him, he kind of starts to take off and run. Yeah. And kind of maybe, not stand in the pocket as strong as Angeli did. I mean,
Nope, I think we lost Tim there, unfortunately. I totally agreed with what he was saying there. I agree. Let's see if we have Tim back now. So Tim in Eastwood there making some good points on Rickie Collins and just the overall comparison to Steve Angeli. I said this earlier in the week as well. Angeli, one of his best traits, one of his most impressive traits, is he was standing in there and taking some shots. It was kind of like Garrett Schrader, honestly. And Schrader was one of those quarterbacks that I think didn't get enough credit for taking a beating and stepping up and making some throws when you were taking a beating. So we'll see if Tim wants to call back. Feel free. If you have thoughts on Rickie Collins as well, 315-437-7644 is the phone number to call. But he's right. Limiting mistakes is the big key. And I think we have seen Rickie, which is a trait from young quarterbacks, and it was a trait we saw maybe more from Steve Angeli in weeks 1 and 2 of the season than we saw in weeks 3 and 4, is if you are getting pressured, don't be so easily into, okay, now I've got to tuck the ball under and take the hit. Stand in the pocket. Make sure that you stand tall. And Rickie, we really just haven't seen enough to criticize that part of his game too much. But I think from what we have seen, it's fair to say he has not stood in the pocket just as much as Steve Angeli was, which Angeli was on the high end of that scale of taking hits and standing in the pocket and making sure that he was making the right read and going through his progressions and wasn't letting the pressure get to him. So those are all the things that I'm not concerned about, but just interested in Rickie Collins. And the other thing to note is a lot of you brought up the point when Syracuse had Steve Angeli at the quarterback position and the offensive line was struggling. Why not go to Rickie Collins? Because he can roll out, he can evade pressure more. If you've got a struggling offensive line, maybe he can avoid sacks more. Well, Steve Angeli was getting the ball out very, very quickly. So can Rickie get the ball out as quickly as Steve Angeli? Can he process as quickly as Steve Angeli? Will the sack numbers go up or will they go down? Knowing that it's now a more athletic quarterback back there, but also I think Steve, it was underrated just how much he was processing, just how much he was confident. We talked about with Kate Klubnik, he was patting the football and not being confident enough to make that read and be confident enough to just make that throw when it's there. Well, Steve Angeli really was showcasing a lot of confidence when he was making reads and making the throws as the weeks progressed. And that's the thing with Rickie Collins. It's going to be interesting to see. Let's see. Do we have someone back on the phone lines here? I think our phone lines are acting up. So we'll hit a timeout. We'll see if we can get Tim and Eastwood back or anyone else that wants to call in. 315-437-7644. And we can get to your phone call. We'll chat with Adam Terry as well. We recorded that conversation earlier today. So at some point, we'll get you the full convo with Adam Terry as we roll along throughout drive time today. You're listening to it on ESPN Radio and QSportsTalk.com.
This is Orange.
Hopefully, let me check on the phones. I want to make sure they're all. The phone is on the fritz. Yeah, sorry. I think that's Mark, right? I don't know the phone lines are really giving us fits. So I would say try again because it looks like we are about to get someone through. So Mark, if that's you, I don't know. I was out there with Gio and the phone was like collapsing on him. So He's trying. I'm pretty sure Zach Tulane was a sold-out crowd. I think I said that earlier. Yeah, Rickie said last night, that was the first thing he said when I said, how do you describe your game? And he said, I like to get the ball to my playmakers. So he understands they've got some good playmakers. Kyle Wilson in the YouTube chat is saying what we were all saying, that he says, I was surrounded during the UConn game with people booing at Steve and chanting, we want Rickie, and now it's like we're in a completely different reality. That is the Syracuse sports fan base. That's any sports fan base, I guess. And amazing how quickly things change. Couple weeks and everyone's gone to the other direction. I would say my golf game is better, Super Cat. My takes could use some work, I feel like. But who knows? Depends on the day. Okay. Rob, yeah, I know Rob. Yeah, he's a character. Okay, just keep an eye, because I think someone said in the chat they're gonna try again. So yeah. Just keep doing what you can, I guess. Yeah, Mac has been back, so Duke's pass rush is pretty solid. They did lose their middle linebacker for the year. He's one of their better players, so there's that. Welcome back into Drive Time. Here with you every weeknight, 5 to 6 p.m. Don't forget, you can always listen to the show back on QSportsTalk.com, immediately archived on our Twitch stream, on our YouTube page. Be a good week to check out the YouTube page. We've had some good interviews this week. We'll have Fran Brown on Orange Nation tomorrow. Mike Greenberg of ESPN joined Orange Nation right at the start of the show earlier today. If you missed that, you can watch it back on our YouTube page, on the podcast feeds as well. For you podcast listeners, ESPN Syracuse /Utica Rome on the podcast feed as well. We'll chat with Adam Terry here in just a little bit, get his thoughts on the win over Clemson, look ahead to Duke with the former Orange offensive lineman, NFL offensive lineman, and the current color guy on the radio for the Syracuse Sports Network from Learfield. So looking forward to catching up with Adam in a little bit. Let's go back to the phone lines right now, though, and let's see if the phones are going to cooperate this time. Let's go to Rob, who is in Baldwinsville. What's up, Rob?
Hey, not a lot. Just excited about the game coming up. I'm glad you got a show now. That's awesome. I wish it was 2 hours.
I appreciate it, Rob. Yeah, good to talk to you on the air versus out there where I'm trying to put you through for Orange Nation.
Absolutely. And Giovanni's great. I've been listening to the pre and post game for the Orange, and he's been doing a great job. I just think don't have a letdown this weekend. They can't, don't make false starts on offense. They got to play a crisp game, and then get some pass rush, on defense. We got to get some pass rush. We really do. We got to put some more pressure on the quarterback. But I don't want a big letdown. And I'm wondering, what do you know, Tim, about injuries? Obviously in jelly, but where are we with? Are we banged up? Are we going to get back? Or is Deuce coming back, or what's the situation?
Yeah, Deuce will be the one I'm interested in. Of course, now ACC games will get the Thursday night injury report tomorrow night. We'll get a chance to ask Fran about those injuries tomorrow on Orange Nation, and then he'll be on his coach's show through Learfield as well tomorrow night. So we should get a little bit more on the injury front going forward on Thursdays. And I was a little surprised to see the Deuce injury last week. That one seemed to pop up ahead of the Clemson game. Outside of that, I feel like this team is pretty darn healthy right now. Yasin Willis looked the part. He returned. Devin Grant, I think, was great to have back. We talked about Travion Mack on the offensive line, maybe underrated how much they missed him as one of the starting tackles. So that's all I know right now. I haven't heard of any injuries that have popped up this week, and I think Deuce is the one that is going to be the most interesting answer from Fran tomorrow, Rob.
What about Ross Simmons going both ways? Is that permanent, or he just did it for that game?
I didn't even see that. He played both ways. Are you sure? Justice Ross Simmons?
Yeah. Fran said I wanted to get more exposure to his, to South Carolina, because more South Carolina.
Oh, you're thinking of Chase Simmons, right? Chase Simmons, maybe. I think
he played corner. He played corner. Whoever it was, they played corner, right? They played for Deuce. You're right. He played for Deuce. Somebody played both ways.
Chase Simmons, I think, because he's a guy who's from South Carolina, and he was recruited as a defensive end. Then we saw on the roster in the spring he had moved to tight end. We've seen him kind of play tight end, fullback a little bit, and then he started the game at the defensive end position and was on the defensive line. So, yeah, he played both ways in the last game. Jamie Tremble, of course, we've seen play both ways as well, and he had some nice plays too. But I think you're thinking of Chase Simmons. Justice Ross Simmons, I don't think will be going two ways at all going forward.
And the 43,000, Tim, is going to really be in our favor. I mean, you talk about loud. We're going to be really loud at 43,000.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rob. I think this is going to be one of the louder environments we've seen in the Dome in a little bit. Everyone talks about the Miami game last year, I should say. Holy Cross last year was the one sellout. This feels like it was a sellout because of Parents Weekend, and then after the Clemson game, it was going to be a sellout anyway. And this feels like it's going to be a legit sellout crowd, not just in terms of how many people are actually in their seats, but also how involved they are in the game and how much they are hyped up about Fran Brown and Syracuse right now. So that should make quite the difference, and that's just another reason why I'm kind of surprised that Duke is 6-point favorites in this game right now. But we'll give you a full scouting report on Duke tomorrow on the show. That was Rob in Baldwinsville. We appreciate him checking in. Let's get now to the interview that I taped earlier today with Adam Terry, who will be one of our weekly guests here on Drive Time going forward. And here is our conversation with Adam from earlier today. Time now for our weekly conversation with Adam Terry, who will be on the radio call for the Syracuse Sports Network from Learfield for the game on Saturday. Orange taking on Duke inside a sold-out JMA Wireless Dome noon kickoff. They'll get the pregame coverage going at 10 a.m., and I'll be out on the quad with Adam at 10 a.m. on Saturday for the Learfield broadcast. Adam, let's first talk about the Clemson game and kind of put that one to bed, which was a really exciting performance from Syracuse, how they went down there, and we talked so much about how the start was going to be important in that game. They got off to the best start you really could possibly get off to with the onside kick. What does that say about Fran Brown and where this team is at, that we saw them struggle to get off to a good start against Tennessee, but they've already grown up, this young team, and it feels like they took some lessons from that Tennessee experience and applied it to the Clemson game?
Yeah, I think it was a statement victory early in the season, and we all have an understanding that Clemson is down. They look disjointed, but the opportunity that was created after the first touchdown, coming back with that onside kick, that's how you script it, right? You want to get out early. You want to shut the fans up. and then you want to send them packing. The weather did that as well as their performance did that. And then you continue to progress throughout the end of the game. And for Syracuse, the opportunity to close that victory out with the injury that occurred to Steve Angeli, it's one that you believe in what Fran's doing. The guys are believing in what Fran's doing. The opportunity that arose with that onside kick, and then you continue to add on. And when you listen to the prognosticators throughout the country, that was a decisive win. There wasn't really that much doubt that Clemson was going to come back into it. So, great opportunity now to go into Duke in the Dome with family weekend, sold-out crowd, having it loud, just a great opportunity.
You bring up Rickie Collins, and we saw him throw that one touchdown pass to Justice Ross Simmons when he got out and got in there, and that was a big part of the game. We've seen him just a little bit to this point. What is your feel or read on, is there going to be a drop-off from Steve Angeli to Rickie Collins? And I guess what's your confidence level in Rickie Collins being the starting quarterback going forward for Syracuse?
Well, the confidence comes from the preparation. You know, when you look at how this is going to go, Jeff Nixon is established. We understand what he's been doing. I've been ranting and raving about him all year. Then you look at Nunzio Campanelli and having the relationship with Rickie Collins prior to Angeli coming in. And those two are going to be the confidence builder for Rickie Collins as well as the team. I feel as though, you know, it's very difficult to be a four-star recruit, go to LSU, and not be very talented. And now it's reining in all the outside noise into making sure that Rickie has a good game plan for him. Not Steve Angeli, but for him.
Yeah. What do you think that looks like? And do you expect them to change the playbook a decent amount, just a little bit from what we've seen? I mean, we've seen Rickie go out there, and you could even tell in that drive inside the Dome against Colgate that he was already kind of looking at a different playbook. He was rolling outside the pocket. And I chatted with Rickie last night. He said that Fran told him, we're going to keep doing the same stuff. We're going to throw the ball a lot. You're a pass-first quarterback, and Fran's kind of gone out of his way to express that. But do you expect Jeff Nixon to change the playbook a little bit, a lot of it, based on Rickie Collins now being the starting quarterback?
I feel as though this week you're going to see Duke load the box a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
I think they're going to come after him. They're going to try to have him chase ghosts, you know, bring it from one side, rock it to the other side. And the opportunity for Rickie is to have a good run game, you know, put Yasin in, put Will Nixon in, get the run game going just like last week. The run game last week was open because of the pass. This one, you might have to pry it open in order for him to feel more comfortable in the pass. The offensive line has each week increased, gotten better, more guys into the fold, and that's what we saw last year with this offensive line. This year, same thing. Dale Williams done a tremendous job over the last 2 years of getting guys that have zero relationship, you know, transfer portal kids that are coming in and then intermixing everybody so they're all on the same page. And we continue to see that progression. When you throw Rickie Collins into the mix, this is a great opportunity for him because of that progression that Syracuse has seen on the offensive line and the ability to start to run the football, which for any quarterback, if you can run the football and then they have to start to load up the box in order to stop it, it opens up the pass game. So it's a little bit different in my eyes what is going to occur Saturday opposed to what we've seen the past couple weeks. We've scared the daylights out of people with Steve Angeli and the ability to throw the football around. And once Rickie gets his feet underneath him, I think that will look similar. But right now, I think you've got to go to the strength of Yasin Willis and Will Nixon in the backfield.
Yeah, that was cool to see how they came right out of the gate against Clemson and ran the ball, I think it was 4 or 5 times in a row to establish the pass game. So I would agree with you there. Maybe we'll see some of that against Duke this weekend. You talk about how the offensive line has gotten better. We saw Travion Mack was back there. He was healthy for the Clemson game. He missed weeks 2 and 3 of this season. That obviously helps you when you're just healthier. But where have you seen growth in the offensive line? And are you surprised by just how much this offensive line has improved? I know you said it, that they improved a lot throughout the year last year, but it seems like they really put together one of their best games of the season against a great defensive line from Clemson.
Yeah, it's kudos and a pat on the back to anybody that was on the offensive line that went into the game. Woods is a high-level defensive tackle that they went against for Clemson, and the progression that you've seen. We got a little bit beat up on recognition of blitzes from Tennessee, and then, each week has gotten a little bit better. Each progression, keeping the quarterback on the feet, and then the ability to just give one more second to the quarterback. And that's where you started to see Steve Angeli thrive, is that blitz wasn't coming to him, and he was able to replace that ball right behind him.
What did you make, Adam? And we've kind of already put this to bed, but we haven't gotten a chance to talk about it with you. The ACC fining Syracuse for the fake injuries. I know you were at the game. We got Paulie's vantage point from being at the game, and he said he thought the injuries were pretty egregious, and the takeaway is Syracuse needs to be a little bit more discreet. I mean, we know everyone is doing it, right? We saw Tennessee was doing a lot of it in week 1. I'm sure that several teams are going to be looked at, and there's going to be a crackdown on this. So the ACC makes the decision to fine Syracuse $25,000. What do you view of how Syracuse is doing it, or what was your overall takeaway from seeing that news come out on Monday?
They just fine everybody the same, right? You look across the board, whether it's in the ACC or other major conferences, it's occurring, and it's part of the game, right? Like this is one that it's the gamemanship of the game, and understanding that you can slow the tempo down in a football game. You just might not want to have two guys go down on the same time, and one guy being a guy that's only played a couple snaps. So, and then this is an eye-opening experience for everybody within the ACC. So whether we were doing it, in future games, when somebody goes down, the voice in the dome is going to let people know that either they agree with it or they don't agree with it. And for a team like Duke, if they try to slow the tempo down and they start to go down, it's one that you can infuse a lot of life into the crowd by somebody going down, and they view it as an egregious thing. Now that money and fines have started being dispensed, I think the displeasure from the Dome faithful will resonate against the opposing team as well.
Yeah, going to be exciting to see a sold-out Dome for this Duke game. You mentioned family weekend. Adam Terry is with us right now. Again, you're ready for Syracuse and Duke. It'll be a noon kickoff on Saturday inside the Dome. What stands out most about Duke now that you've done your homework on them a little bit, and what in the matchup are the things that you're really focused on here in this matchup between Syracuse and Duke?
Well, you look and see who they've played, right? Like they beat up on Elon, right? They got beat up against Illinois. Tulane comes in for the revenge of stealing their quarterback in the transfer portal. And then you see this NC State win is one that now you start to say, okay, maybe the first 3 games weren't who they are, and that either NC State's not as good as we've always anticipated with the Dave Doran-led team, or this is one where, okay, they've started to put everything together. And all of that, starts behind Darian Mensah, who throws the ball around, and there's a reason that they plucked him from Tulane and put him in there.
I know a lot of our callers, a lot of our fans have chimed in on just how surprised they are at the point spread here. It looks like it's gotten up to Duke as a 6-point favorite inside the Dome, and it opened in the neighborhood of like 5.5 points. And sure, a lot of that has to do with the Vegas odds makers haven't seen Rickie Collins, and they don't really know what they're getting from the Syracuse quarterback in this game. And I'm sure the line would look different with Steve Angeli. What's your read on how Syracuse matches up, and does that line surprise you at all that Duke is right now a 6-point favorite?
I I don't even take any of those into consideration anymore.
Yeah.
It's can they have a great week led by Fran Brown? That's how I view it. If we had a Fran Brown meter at practice and his end of the week conversation is like, yeah, hey, we're ready. Well, hey, then we're ready. With Fran right now, I think he has everybody believing in what they're doing. That Clemson win now pushes more onto the table, right? Like, you're not all in yet, but in certain situations, you're getting closer and closer to understanding that he has a lot of the guys that he wants. And right now, this season is contingent upon, can Rickie Collins step into the role and be successful? Doesn't have to be great. He has to be successful and be able to execute what's in front of him, because the feeling of Jeff Nixon and how he's going to game plan this, I wholeheartedly buy into.
Yeah, it's hard not to at this point. I'm 100% with you. I think Fran put it well last week when he said, I think Vegas thought Canelo was going to win, so I don't even pay attention to Vegas. And, of course, they were huge underdogs to Clemson, 17.5-point underdogs, and they went down there and dominated that football game, led by 20 at one point in that game. We'll leave you with this, Adam. Has anything surprised you about the Orange? We're now 4 games in. Is there any position group or a player that you feel like is maybe underrated at this point? I mean, to me, I brought up Antoine Delorier on the show this week. I feel like he has just gotten so much better from week 1 to now, but I'll leave it open-ended. What has surprised you the most about Syracuse to this point of the season?
Well, I think the biggest story that nobody's really talking about is Kevin Coyle leaving and going to UCLA. Yes, defensive analyst, but, a fantastic pedigree, has been a defensive coordinator in the NFL and as well in college ranks. And to me, he was sitting on the opposite glass right next to me. So I'm banging on the window after each successful either stop or touchdown. And he's a guy that, when you have people, Gaddis on offense as well, guys that understand, that can keep the defense coordinator or the offensive coordinator in the game instead of thinking about multiple different things. And then there's this feedback loop that an older coach, long in the tooth, can then give these little nuances back into the game plan. So to me, that's one of the things that I look at. Losing him, he was a defensive analyst, now goes, and I believe he's going to be the D coordinator or something along the lines like that out at UCLA.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you're getting plucked in the middle of the season to go to be a DC somewhere. That says that you have that pedigree behind you. But I will say the secondary is improved. Antoine Delorier, from the Tennessee game up until now, he's starting to come into his own. And I really like a lot of the younger players that now are getting opportunities. And they might not seize it all the time, but the transfer portal era has Fran Brown has a great understanding of, you've got to get guys in the game, and you can only get the guys in the game as long as there's not a significant drop off. And what we've started to see is there's not a significant drop off when they go in the game, and they're actually starting to raise their standards. So are we getting a higher ceiling out of some of these guys? Not yet. But are we getting an awesome floor, a great base, great depth? Yes, and that's what allows you to win further on in the season, is the development of some of these younger guys and even some of the transfer portal guys, David Reese. Like, we know what he's capable of doing, and now he's starting to get into that role because of other players on the defensive line are now drawing more attention to them.
Yeah, it's exciting to see just how much this team has gotten better from the first game and a half of the season. I mean, if you would have told us at halftime of UConn they'd be 3-1, they would have dominated Clemson, I'm sure a lot of fans would have been surprised with that result. But, Adam, we appreciate the time. We'll let you run, and we'll chat with you on Saturday. Looking forward to a sellout inside the Dome for that Duke game.
All right, see you guys.
Adam, for our weekly visit. We'll hit our final break here on the show. We have gathered control of the phone lines, we think. So we apologize if we missed your call earlier. If you'd like to call in right now, we can sneak in a thought before we wrap things up. 315-437-7644 is the phone number to call. We're back after this on Drive Time.
Progressive.
Yeah, sorry, Scooter. Who knows who it was? I know Mark. I think we missed a couple, but I think they are working now. If someone wants to call in. Let's see what I missed in the chat. Yeah, bowling ball. I will say about the fining, I don't think you couldn't get fined until this year, I'm pretty sure. Because remember, they changed the rules and now they're cracking down on it. So teams were doing it all the time, and then they said, okay, we've got to implement some rules around this. And that was one of the big college football rule changes this year, and fining is a part of it now. But other teams are, of course, doing it, and they haven't been fined, really, that we know of. Tennessee did it, and Fran took the high road when he was asked about them. Syracuse winning the Natty, Tronic. I like it. Wide open race. I think Adam's phone sounds fine. I know the show flies by, doesn't it? You can listen to Yankees on Deck with me in the next hour if you'd like. I know most of you are here for Syracuse stuff, but Syracuse opinions. I don't think Alabama's going to fire their coach, Philly's most wanted. They got a big game this week against Georgia, though. Yeah, Yanks have clinched a postseason spot, Govendo. In the wildest game. Wildest way to do it last night, really. I wouldn't see Alabama opening up unless things get really bleak, just because of the buyout and everything with DeBoer. But Florida definitely is going to open, it seems like. That's the one that maybe you're worried about most. Arkansas could open. I don't really think Fran's going to leave for anything but SEC. Maybe a really good Northeast job because he has ties, but what are the really good Northeast jobs? Like Penn State? I mean, you could just win at Syracuse, right? So, he would leave for anything. It'd probably be a big SEC job, but I know some of you would also harken back to his press conference comments, and everything he said has been genuine and honest to this point, so we should take his word when he said, I'm not leaving, and this isn't just, 3 years and I'm out, or whatever he said. But Florida will open, I think. Arkansas will open. Auburn, maybe. Auburn would be a good job, obviously. Yeah, Kiffin, maybe. Then Ole Miss. Yeah, that's a good point, San Diego Cuse. That shows you the talent Syracuse has in the program now. When you think about, and granted, I think Derek McDonald was a little banged up at one point. I think Umari Hatcher has not really recovered from his injury. Like, I think Umari Hatcher is just not quite as good or as explosive as he used to be. But think about, Hatcher was a big piece in the Dino era. McDonald was a big piece. And now Fran has, like, freshmen playing over them. Buxton's another example. There you go, Jed. This is like your equivalent of Paulie's ham. Sweet potato dish. That sounds very good. We do. We should be very thankful. I don't even really want to talk much about will Fran leave for jobs. I saw that article today. USA Today wrote an article, he'll be the hottest name. Let's just enjoy it, right, guys? I mean, let's not take it for granted. Final segment here on the show tonight. Thanks for tuning in once again to Drive Time with Tim Leonard. We'll be talking Yankees baseball after this break. Yankees on Deck coming up. Yankees clinched a postseason spot last night. We'll have Fran Brown on Orange Nation tomorrow. I know you are all interested in hearing about some injuries. We should get some insight on that tomorrow. I'm sure we'll ask the coach about that when he joins Orange Nation right around the start of the show tomorrow. Orange Nation always 12 to 2. You can always watch back all our shows, QSportsTalk.com, QSportsTalk on the YouTube page as well. Before we bid you adieu tonight and get into some Yankees baseball, let's get into a little bit more of what stood out from Fran Brown being on the Rich Eisen show earlier today, which is always the show in between our two Syracuse sports shows. Rich Eisen now back on ESPN Radio. He had Fran Brown on the show, and they talked about a whole bunch of different stuff. We brought up the Rickie Collins comments from earlier and how Fran was very complimentary of Rickie and really does feel like he's going to do a very good job in the starting role. Here was Fran on a question that came in from Rich Eisen on what do you make of the state of college football? A big picture question on NIL. And this is Fran and why we love him. This would be the perfect answer to anyone in any industry right now when they're asked about how do you adjust and how do you adapt right now?
I like it. I like where it's at. It's a part of what it is. You know why I like it? Because it makes everyone have to adjust. And you got to be able to evolve with the time. Like everyone wants it to just be the same, but everything in our world is changing. Like our whole country is constantly changing daily. So for that to just stay the same when all of this stuff is going on social media, the amount of money that people are making in the world, you just got to be able to evolve. You got to be able to adapt. And I think the people that adapt and are open to the change and are excited about the change, they'll keep evolving and becoming better. And the guys that don't want to do it and think you're going to stick to it and do it your own way and this is how it should be done, that's just not the era of it anymore, right? There's so many good football players. And these kids, some of the kids come from less fortunate. So it's really cool that they get the opportunity to help out their families.
That was Fran Brown on the Rich Eisen show earlier today. Great answer. Just another perfectly summed up answer from Fran Brown. He's 100% really on answering the difficult questions well. And I was thinking about this last night. Really, we could all learn from Fran if you're in any walk of life, if you're in any industry right now. This guy's just doing it right. He came in and he makes sure to network with the right people. He's always talking about relationships he has with coaches, and that was so pivotal. We heard in that Athletic article, we had David Ubben, who was on Orange Nation, who wrote that article, talked about Todd Bowles reached out, and all these coaches reached out, and they all said the same thing about Fran, and that really made it easy for John Wildtack to realize, if they're all saying the same thing, then this guy means what he's saying. Fran is just amazing at showcasing how you climb in an industry. He does everything right. He shakes everyone's hand. He does all the little things. He doesn't sleep. He works tirelessly. He jokes about how he dominates the snooze button. It's honestly aspirational. And that's why I know there was an article earlier today that I'm kind of choosing to ignore. USA Today wrote an article. Here's why Fran Brown is the number one option, number one name you're going to hear on the coaching carousel, the coaching search, biggest name that SEC schools are going to want. It was Mark Hayes who wrote the article for USA Today. Syracuse is in a spot right now where they know they've got the guy that they have tried to get for years. And I got a feeling that they're going to do everything they can to make sure they keep that guy. And I don't know anything, but it's a really good time right now to be good at football. It's a really good time right now to have the perfect head coach, and Syracuse has that. So instead of spending a ton of time wondering and posturing whether Fran will go somewhere else, let's just enjoy that we have Fran Brown right now. And let's not take it for granted, because it's easy to just get used to what Fran is doing right now. It's easy to kind of see, another 4-star, cool, no big deal. But before Fran was here, they weren't getting any 4 stars, really. They weren't winning games at Clemson, and not just winning, but thoroughly dominating Clemson. So we'll leave you with that today. Enjoy Fran Brown while you got him. Get on out to the Dome if you can. I know it's a sellout this week, but future games, this thing's really fun right now. And Fran Brown continues to answer every question in the right way and continues to just amaze me. The more you know Fran, the more you hear from him, the more you understand that he is the perfect guy for this job right now. And he's also just showcasing exactly how you should climb the ladder in any industry. He's doing all the right things. He's talking to all the right people. He's making sure he remembers everyone's name. It's all the things that you hear about. It's really admirable when you really dissect who Fran Brown is and what he stood by and what he's accomplished here at Syracuse. With that, we'll talk some Yankees baseball and start Yankees on deck, but that'll wrap things up for Drive Time. Thanks to Giovanni Heater for producing, and we'll talk to you tomorrow, 5 to 6 p.m., for another Drive Time here on ESPN Radio.
When you need a